Hey there, history explorers. Today we're diving into the military tactics developed by Native American peoples throughout the centuries. Before we jump in, don't forget to hit that like button and stick with us until the end. These groups perfected strategies shaped by the need to protect their lands and traditions, mastering techniques like ambushes and swift movements. Their maneuvers even forced European colonizers to rethink their battle methods, acknowledging the ingenuity of native communities. Leaders like Pontiac and Geronimo made history by leading acts of resistance, showcasing the strength of a determined culture. Join us on this journey of discovery, because their achievements still resonate and inspire generations. Native American communities left an impressive mark on military history. Whether dealing with tribal disputes, fighting against colonizers, or occasionally forming alliances with Europeans, their combat methods stood out for their agility and guerrilla-style tactics. Night ambushes and surprise attacks, known as hit-and-run tactics, became essential tools to overcome being outnumbered and to ensure survival in hostile environments. Although there were prolonged battles, these communities typically favored individual actions over relying heavily on centralized command. This independence allowed each warrior to move quickly and make strategic decisions on their own. Sure, there were moments of organization, but tactical flexibility remained the key factor in the success of their operations. They had a general plan, but always left room for improvisation. Commanders guided their fighters, believing that adaptability could change the outcome of any battle. There's even a famous quote from a German general reinforcing this idea: "No plan survives first contact with the enemy." And that's exactly the mindset that shaped their battlefield strategies. In open terrain, creative communication became a game changer. Warriors used flags, gestures, specific sounds, horn signals, and even mirror reflections to deliver orders or confuse their enemies. Among their tactics were sending misleading signals and rewarding fighters who could swiftly take down enemies during quick raids on camps. Native armies were also known for their exceptional close combat skills, expertly handling spears, stone hatchets, and arrows, sometimes even lighting them on fire. Although rare, they occasionally used poisoned arrow tips. Additionally, many tribes adopted horses for hit-and-run attacks, giving them a huge advantage over Europeans during battles in the pre-colonial era. Have you ever wondered how some tribes dealt with losing relatives during conflicts? Groups like the Apache, Comanche, Wichita, and Kiowa, located in the southern and southwestern United States, had an intriguing custom: adopting captured survivors to fill the void left by deceased family members. These prisoners started living in the community as if they'd always belonged there. There are stories of captives who managed to escape and later shared their experiences, but many ended up staying their entire lives, living side by side with people who were once their enemies. Over the centuries, many victories included capturing survivors. But among native peoples in the southern U.S., this practice had unique features. Captives weren't immediately degraded nor discriminated against based on gender, age, or ethnicity. Instead, they became part of the daily life of the tribes, even though they often faced illness and lower life expectancy. Adopted children, for example, frequently adapted to the new culture, and there are accounts of women who received the same treatment as other wives. A notable case is Britt Johnson, an African-American cowboy born into slavery who successfully freed his wife and children from the Kiowa tribe through negotiations, exchanging valuable goods to ensure his family's safety. Over the years, many rescue missions were carried out by both European colonizers and native peoples themselves. Sometimes captured individuals were sold into slavery, though this wasn't common practice in tribal warfare. It's estimated that around 30% of Apaches, Comanches, and Kiowas have ancestors who experienced this, highlighting just how complex these relationships were. The Iroquois, known for their harsh treatment of enemies, lived around the Great Lakes region, covering parts of what's now the northeastern U.S. and Canada. Initially nomadic, they later formed a powerful confederation, adopting combat practices that included torture, scalping, and even burning prisoners alive. Taking scalps was considered a sign of strength, and these trophies were displayed in villages as symbols of honorable victories. There are even accounts of certain native groups from the northern United States making items out of human skin like belts and hats, occasionally trading them, showing just how severe some war traditions could be. The Iroquois were known for starting what's called mourning wars, where capturing members of enemy groups to replace relatives lost in battle was a common practice. This tactic, used by many Iroquois tribes, served as a way to defend themselves and maintain strength against European advances. In contrast, indigenous groups from the South and Southwest preferred adopting prisoners directly into their communities to balance out their population. For the Iroquois, losing warriors wasn't just a blow to their fighting strength. It also weakened their collective spiritual power. Despite being pretty dark, this strategy had one clear benefit: keeping or even increasing the number of fighters. Before prisoners were fully accepted into the community, they faced intense tests that included torture and exposure to fire, meant to evaluate their physical endurance. Those who showed weakness ended up being killed in ritual ceremonies, leading many researchers to link these practices to a possible desire for revenge. Enduring extreme pain was valued as proof that a captive would be useful in future battles. While the exact reasons behind this brutality aren't entirely certain, the most accepted theory suggests a mix of survival and vengeance motivated these methods. In Iroquois society, dying in battle wasn't glorified. Being cautious meant that if the threat was too great or someone was badly hurt, pulling back was seen as the smartest move. They believed this protected lives and kept the group safe. If a warrior died during combat, his body wouldn't receive a proper burial because they worried his spirit would wander restlessly. The community also closely evaluated men's duties, especially hunting, which was considered essential. Anyone failing to meet this responsibility risked losing privileges, including the right to marry. These rules came directly from women, who had the authority to make administrative and strategic decisions for the group. In this way, women shaped the Iroquois way of life and how their community was organized. The history of indigenous peoples in America highlights leaders who became iconic during times of great tension. One of these figures is Pontiac, known for his resistance against British occupation around the Great Lakes region, during what's known as Pontiac's War, connected to the events of the French and Indian War. Although Pontiac is identified as a member of the Ottawa tribe, little is known about his origins and personal story. This lack of details fuels speculation that Pontiac might have been kidnapped as a child before becoming part of the Ottawa. The French and Indian War, fought in North America during the second half of the 18th century, wasn't just about conflicts between natives and the French, despite what the name might suggest. It was actually a territorial struggle between the French and the British in their American colonies, involving alliances and rivalries among various indigenous nations. During this period, local communities sided with one European empire or another, depending on their own interests and needs. It was in this complex network of agreements and conflicts that Pontiac rose to prominence, leaving his mark on history and intriguing scholars about his true beginnings. The winner ended up giving their own name to the fight. This conflict took place during the 7 Years' War, a major struggle that spread across territories under European influence. Native peoples were deeply involved, often staying loyal to one side until the very end. Still, there's a belief that they frequently broke agreements with their European allies. For indigenous communities, dying for colonial interests didn't make sense, leading to desertions and occasional acts of betrayal. Partnering with indigenous peoples can make a huge difference. They fight knowing there's no room for failure because they're defending their homes and families. Even when a dominant country has stronger naval and land forces, its soldiers, though dedicated, are usually just fulfilling an official mission. Native groups, however, fight with a determination driven by the need to protect every piece of their territory. Sometimes this passion can even overcome the most advanced military power. Great examples include wars like Vietnam and conflicts in the Middle East, where local populations, despite having fewer resources, used guerrilla tactics, close combat, and unexpected alliances to resist stronger opponents. Want to learn more about Native American strategies? If you love Old West stories, comment using the hashtag #OldWest so we can bring you more interesting content. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel to keep up with new updates. See you in the next video. Peace out.